Iran's supreme leader issuing a new warning to the United States after President Trump threatened to bomb Tehran. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei warning that America will receive a strong blow if it acts on President Trump's threat over negotiations on a new nuclear deal.
If they don't choose to move forward with diplomacy in a deal, which is the direction we do see them headed in, there will be grave consequences to pay.
Iran is threatening to bomb the United States, and it's not just talk. The Iranian state media has just released this terrifying video showing Iran's underground missile city packed with advanced ballistic missiles. Iran's military claims it has built so many of these underground missile cities that if it revealed one every week, it would take 2 full years to show them all. Now, this is a direct message to Trump after he made chilling threats to bomb the hell out of Tehran if it refused to make a new nuclear deal.
And we're going to either have to talk and talk it out, or very bad things are going to happen to Iran.
If Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal, quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing. And it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before.
Now, Trump is not the only one flexing his military might. Iran has joined the party too, and things are about to get deadly from here. But the question is Iran really ready for war? Or is this just a desperate bluff from a nation that's running out of options? What happens if they refuse to make the nuclear deal? Will Trump make good on his threats? Let's break it all down. In April 2025, Iranian state media released a short but powerful video, just 85 seconds long, but enough to raise alarm everywhere. The footage takes us deep underground, where 2 of Iran's top military commanders are seen riding through a massive tunnel filled with missiles and warheads. One of them is Major General Mohammad Hossein Bagheri, the Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces. Beside him is Brigadier General Amir Ali Hajizadeh, head of the IRGC Aerospace Force. He's the man in charge of Iran's missile systems. Both are directly tied to the country's most advanced long-range weapons. The location shown in the video is one of Iran's secret underground missile bases, sometimes called missile cities. As you can see from the video, this particular facility is packed with advanced weapons, including Ghadir 110 and Qassem missiles. Those 2 were part of the missiles used by Iran in the strikes against Israel in April 2024. As the generals drove through the tunnel, they stopped for a moment, got down from the jeep, saluted a portrait of Iran's supreme leader, and then stepped directly over an Israeli flag painted on the ground. Now, you need to understand that this entire scene was carefully staged as a message to the United States government. This video came just days after President Trump gave Iran a 2-month ultimatum. He wanted them to return to the negotiation table for talks on how to end their nuclear program, or he'll unleash hell upon them. We'll come to that later, but here's the twist. While Iran responded to Trump's threats by trying to show strength with the video of its missile facility, that video may have exposed one of its biggest weaknesses. Military analysts noticed that the tunnels in the video had no blast doors between the missile chambers. Blast doors are heavy protective barriers that are supposed to separate sections of the base to prevent chain reactions in case of an attack. Without them, even one bunker buster missile could set off a chain reaction and massive explosion that could destroy the entire site. And this is not a risk on paper because Israel had already proven that bunker buster strikes are no jokes. In September 2024, the Israeli military used such a strike to eliminate the Hezbollah commander Hassan Nasrallah in a bunker 60 feet underground. This type of strike could do the same or even worse to Iran's missile city if the US could get its location. But here's the problem. General Amir Ali Hajizadeh claims that they have built so many underground missile cities that if they reveal one every week, it will take them 2 whole years to show them all. Now, we know he could be blowing things out of proportion just to show strength, but there's also a chance that he's telling the truth or something close to it. Now, to rewind to where this all started. On March 30th, 2025, Trump gave a phone interview to NBC News, and what he said left no room for any misunderstanding.
If Iran doesn't agree to a nuclear deal, quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing. And it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before.
Trump also floated the idea of secondary tariffs on any country that continues to do business with Iran. He hinted at tariffs as high as 25% to 50% to target Iran's global partners to pressure Tehran into compliance. This economic threat was part of a larger strategy to squeeze Iran financially while positioning the military as a backup plan. But this kind of pressure isn't new to Iran. During his first presidential term back in 2018, Trump Trump pulled the U.S. out of the JCPOA, or Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. This was the nuclear agreement signed in 2015 between Iran and the 6 major world powers: the U.S., the U.K., France, Russia, China, and Germany. The deal placed strict limitations on Iran's ability to enrich uranium in exchange for relief from crippling economic sanctions. But Trump hated the deal. He believed it was too soft, especially since it allowed Iran to continue enriching uranium at low levels and still fund its regional proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis.
Remember, the reason the Trump administration withdrew from the Obama-Iran deal is because that Iran deal left all of that infrastructure in place. It didn't require the Iranians to dismantle its program.
You see, allowing Iran to continue its nuclear program while trusting them not to use it is like allowing a snake to keep its fangs after milking the venom. Trump knew that the deal did not eliminate the threat, but made Iran a ticking time bomb. So 3 years later, he tore up the deal and hit Iran with the highest level of economic sanctions in May 2018.
Therefore, I am announcing today that the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal. In a few moments, I will sign a presidential memorandum to begin reinstating U.S. nuclear sanctions on the Iranian regime.
By 2020, Iran's oil exports had dropped from 2.5 million barrels per day to just 500,000. That's a daily loss of nearly $146 million in oil revenue. This crippled Iran's economy until the Biden administration came on board and could no longer enforce the sanctions. But now that Trump is back in the White House, he wants to make a new deal. In early March 2025, Trump sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He confirmed this during an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Fox.
I've written him a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to the Khomeini,
Yes.
the leader? When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
But Iran rejected Trump's proposal. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian publicly confirmed that Iran would not engage in direct talks with the United States. He blamed the broken trust from Trump's first term and said, "We don't avoid talks. It's the breach of promises that has caused problems. They must prove they can build trust." The Iranian foreign minister also responded further by making it clear to Trump that he cannot threaten Iran into making a deal with him. To move forward today, we first need to agree that there can be no military option, let alone a military solution, he said. At the time of making this video, the U.S. government seemed to have accepted Iran's offer of indirect talks. Authorities from both nations are now talking, and what would happen next depends on the outcome of their meetings, if Iran is willing to give up its nuclear program or not. Experts already classify Iran as a threshold nuclear state. That means they don't have a nuclear weapon yet, but they have the materials, the technology, and the infrastructure to build one. Back in 2015, when the JCPOA nuclear deal was still in place, Iran was only allowed to enrich uranium up to 3.67% purity. That's far below the 90% U-235 concentration needed to build a nuclear weapon. But after Trump took the U.S. out of the deal in 2018, Iran sped up things. By 2019, Iran started enriching uranium to 4.5%. Then, in January 2021, they pushed it to 20%. And by April 2022, they had reached 60% U-235. Now, it may not sound like a big leap, but going from 60% to 90% is a much faster process than going from 3% to 20%. It's the final stretch, and experts say it could take just a few weeks if Iran decides to move full speed ahead, and they pretty much have what they need now. According to nuclear watchdogs, Iran has stockpiled enough enriched uranium to create 5 to 6 nuclear warheads in less than 2 weeks if they choose to take that final step. They've also expanded their centrifuge network, adding more advanced machines that can speed up enrichment even further. Another major point of concern is Iran's missile program. You see, for Iran to become a true nuclear threat, it also needs a reliable delivery system. They need something that can carry a nuclear payload across long distances. They've already shown off a range of long-range ballistic missiles, many of which are believed to be capable of reaching Israel and even U.S. bases in the region. Some of these missiles, like the Sejil and Khaybar Sheikhan, have already been tested in regional conflicts and are built to carry heavy payloads. That's what makes this moment so dangerous, because once Iran has a nuclear weapon in hand, the cost of striking them becomes far higher for the entire Middle Eastern region and, of course, the rest of the world. While Trump is still issuing threats to Iran from Washington, U.S. forces are already unleashing hell on its allies. On March 16th, the U.S. launched a wave of airstrikes campaign in Yemen, targeting the notorious regional militia group known as the Houthi rebels. U.S. airstrikes have destroyed several Houthis' military camps. They also killed many of their commanders and, tragically, many civilians too, including children. Now, while these attacks are directly targeted at the Houthi rebels, they're also an indirect blow to Iran's influence in the region. The Houthis have long been armed, funded, and trained by Iran. They use Iran's resources and support to attack commercial ships, oil tankers, and even U.S. Navy vessels on the Red Sea. They have also launched several missile attacks on American allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia.
The Houthis have been horrible to the world. What they've done, killed a lot of people and knocked down a lot of ships and planes and anything else. You know, it's not just the ships. And they have been hit harder than they've ever been hit.
Here's actual footage from June 2024 showing the rebels hijacking a commercial vessel on the Red Sea. Just look at how they move, heavily armed, highly coordinated, and operating with the precision of trained special forces. By stopping this rebel group, the U.S. is cutting off one of Iran's most active proxy arms. But the Houthis are not the only ones feeling the pressure. Iran's other proxies are also under heavy fire. In Gaza, Israel's military campaign against Hamas has gutted the group's leadership with over 20,000 fighters dead. In Lebanon, pressure is mounting on Hezbollah, and in Iraq and Syria, groups like Kataib Hezbollah and Al-Nujaba are being disarmed as we speak. President Trump is determined to crush Iran's proxy network, which it has spent decades building. At the same time, U.S. and Israeli forces are surrounding Iran from multiple directions. At least 6 B-2 Spirit bombers have been deployed to Diego Garcia, a British-controlled island in the Indian Ocean. The location is just about 3,000 miles from Iran, far enough to stay out of missile range, but close enough to launch long-range bombing missions deep into Iranian territory.
The Trump administration has cranked up the pressure campaign to dry up its resources, and the United States has these B-2 stealth bombers, 6 of them, in the region pointed at Iran. Those B-2 bombers carry ordnances that are able to destroy deeply buried hardened targets inside Iran. That's where the nuclear facilities are. That's where all the infrastructure is.
These stealth bombers, paired with aerial refueling support, can hit Iranian targets and return without setting foot on Iranian soil. 12 F-35A Joint Strike Fighters from Hill Air Force Base in Utah have also been flown to RAF Lakenheath in England. This airbase has historically served as a transfer point for aircraft headed toward the Middle East. So there's every possibility that these jets will soon join the strike group at Diego Garcia. In the seas, the U.S. positioned 2 aircraft carriers, USS Harry S. Truman and USS Carl Vinson, in the Red Sea and Persian Gulf. Each carrier is equipped with around 90 aircraft and escorted by a full strike group, including destroyers and submarines. To strengthen its defenses, the Pentagon also moved Patriot missile batteries and a THAAD system into the region to intercept missiles, just in case Iran decides to retaliate. Now, while the U.S. is positioning its military assets against any fallout with Iran, Israel is fully on board too. After Trump publicly said during an interview that Israel would lead any strike on Iran, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu backed him immediately. He compared Trump's vision to the 2003 deal, where Libya dismantled its entire nuclear program under international supervision. Netanyahu reiterated that diplomacy is still an option, but if that fails, Israel is ready to join the U.S. in attacking Iran.
Israel is just trying to exist. It's the other side that wants the genocide, that literally wants to wipe them off the map. If Iran gets nuclear weapons, they will absolutely use it on Tel Aviv. We have to pay attention to this. This is a clear and present danger.
Israel and the U.S. have long been working together on intelligence, target mapping, and coordinated strike plans. Now, with Iran's proxies weakened and American and Israeli firepower closing in from land, sea, and air, we could be counting down to another devastating war outbreak in the Middle East. The truth is, if this war eventually breaks out, Iran doesn't stand a chance, especially on paper.
So, what is the incentive that Iran has right now to negotiate?
Well, they're in a very weak position, and so I'm sure they don't want to negotiate because they're not going to have a very strong hand to play.
The U.S. military is the most powerful in the world, and Israel ranks among the top military powers in the Middle East. Together, both nations are an overwhelming force to mess with. According to Global Firepower's 2025 rankings, the U.S. holds the #1 spot in global military strength, while Israel comes in at number 15, and Iran is ranked number 16. The U.S. military has 1.3 million active duty soldiers and another 799,000 in reserve. Iran, on the other hand, has around 610,000 active soldiers and 350,000 reserves. So when it comes to sheer manpower, Iran simply can't compete with the combined forces of the US and Israel. The US also has a massive technological edge. Iran's air force is still flying planes that were originally made in the US before the 1979 revolution. They use F-4 and F-5, which are outdated and nowhere near the level of sophistication needed to combat modern US and Israeli fighters. Meanwhile, the US military boasts over 13,000 aircraft, many of which are the most advanced fighter jets and bombers in the world. Now, when it comes to naval power, the gap widens even more. The US has 11 aircraft carriers, 9 helicopter carriers, and a massive fleet of submarines and destroyers. Meanwhile, Iran has around 107 naval assets, including just 7 frigates and 3 corvettes. Iran might have some impressive coastal defenses, but they are no match for the size, firepower, and capabilities of the US and Israeli fleets. But the real story is in the air. Iran has invested heavily in its missile defense systems, including the S-300 and Bavar 373, which is similar to Russia's S-400. It can track up to 60 targets at a time and intercept missiles at 186 miles. Now, while this might sound impressive, the problem is that, as of March 2025, Iran can still not boast of formidable air defense systems, and that's because most of its advanced defense systems were destroyed by the Israeli forces in the October 2024 counterattack against Iran.
But after that last Israeli counterattack against the Iranians in response to the Iran attack against Israel, the Israelis took out all of Iran's air defenses. So Iran is sitting pretty vulnerable.
Even though they hadn't been destroyed, their defense systems are still not at par with the US military or Israeli forces. Most of them are designed to defend against low-flying missiles and aircraft, not stealth bombers or precision-guided munitions used by the US and Israel. Even Iran's missile stockpile, which includes over 3,000 ballistic missiles, might not be enough to turn the tide. Despite Iran's massive missile force, many of its systems have limited range and payload, and their delivery capabilities are outdated. Israel's Iron Dome and the USS advanced THAAD and Patriot missile systems, on the other hand, are more than capable of intercepting incoming missiles.
So realistically, what do we think Iran's response would be to a military strike?
Well, again, they're a much weaker capability militarily than what we even previously thought a couple of years ago. So they don't have that many options. Even as they support the Houthis and all other proxies around the region, they have not been able to harm American firepower in the region. So they are really on their back heel.
So if war breaks out, the US and Israel would dominate the skies, the seas, and even the lands if it came to that. Iran could only retaliate to the best of their abilities. They could fire a couple of drones and missiles at both Israel and US bases, but those attacks are likely to be intercepted or destroyed long before they reach their targets. Surprisingly, despite its disadvantaged position and the increasing pressure from the US and Israel, Iran is still holding strong, at least publicly. But since they have agreed to have indirect talks with Washington, let's just hope they're able to work out a peaceful resolution. Because if they don't, the alternative will most likely not end in their favor. So, do you really think Iran will agree to give up its nuclear program? If they refuse, do you think Trump will make good on his threats? And if Trump ends up bombing Iran, how do you think it will all end? Feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth videos on cartel activities like the ones on your screen right now. Click on any of the cards on your screen to watch more of our videos.